Sridhar Jayachandran, one of the co-founders of Crio. We are a learning platform focused primarily on skilling people primarily through project-based methodology, right? So I'd like to take you through the backend developer track and help you understand what it is about, how you can upskill yourself, and then kind of also try to understand the other way as to why you are here. All right. So am I loud enough? I think. Okay, we'll give a couple of more minutes before getting started. But before that, I just like wanted to understand from you folks as to why you are here. Can you just like type it out on chat? We'll give a couple of more minutes for a few more folks to join, and then you can get started. But like before that, if you can tell me why you are here, that would be useful.
Sir, I've used to HTML and CSS.
Okay, and why are you here? Like, what are you trying to become a backend engineer, or is that the reason?
सर मतलब सर वेब डेवलपिंग सबके बारे में सर
Sorry.
वेब डेवलपिंग
Okay, you have done web developing, but like, what are you trying to like? What is that you want to get out of this? Are you trying to move to a backend developer job? Is that the reason?
यस सर
Got it. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. How about others? Feel free to type it on chat as well, right? That's probably easier.
यस सर
Okay. To learn backend and become a good creative person in the future. Okay. That's interesting. How about the others? Friday evening, you're not seeing a movie, but you're here. There should be a reason, right? Okay, plus one. You have a same thing as Debashish says. Okay, two people, same. Oh, please Hindi. I don't know Hindi. I mean, I can barely understand. Okay, to enhance my skills as a backend developer. Okay, so it seems like okay, that's kind of one of the common themes. Anybody here to actually change jobs or kind of do better in your job, or maybe do a transition from say a different role to developer role? Any other kind of thing? Means learning skill is definitely one of the like paths, right? Like, but what is your end goal? Learn more about developing scalable and secure apps in the backend. Okay, even though I'm a full stack developer, I'd like to develop my career growth. Okay, okay. So you already do development, and then you want to further push it. So you're a front end developer, having worked on HTML, CSS, JS, jQuery, Angular, and you also have a knowledge about Node.js, and you want to become a full stack developer. Got it? Okay, okay. And also the have the ability to handle the project from scratch till the end. Okay, that's interesting. Fresher want to upgrade skills by working on some project. Okay, cool. Transition from mechanical engineering to developer. Okay, okay. So what else? Anybody who's into say DevOps or QA and or system engineering, and then you are trying to move into development. Anybody? Okay, doesn't seem like it. Okay. All right. Okay, so there is somebody in there. Okay, that's kind of one of the things I thought there are people in that bucket. All right, so we'll get started. Just like I will just like begin again for some of the people who have joined right now. So very good evening, and I'm Sridhar Jayachandran, one of the co-founders of Crio. We are a learning platform, and the way people learn on our platform is primarily through projects, right? So there are no videos or tutorials, etc. It's primarily a project-driven learning platform, and I'll be showing you a demo of the platform as well, so that you understand what it is all about. Okay. So before starting Cryo, I was with Google as a product manager and as a engineer. I was primarily working on distributed systems there. And before that, I was with NetApp, primarily working on Linux kernel. That's kind of my background. And with one of my co-founders who was a senior director in Flipkart, we started this company a couple of years back. Right. So today what I'd like to do is spend some time helping you understand what is this backend developer track and how it can actually help your career. All right. So why are you here? Right. So I'm guessing that most likely you're seeing a lot of things happening around you. Right. WhatsApp is being built. Facebook is there. Uber, Swiggy, Paytm. Right. There are so many products that are coming out, and these products are used by millions of users. Right. So you always have the dream. Okay, hey, can I actually build them? What does it take to build them? Right. So based on all the things that is happening in the tech ecosystem, you're probably having, okay, how do I get there? Correct. I'm guessing that's why you are actually even looking to upskill yourself. Right. So if you were to think of what happens in some of these companies, right? Let's take first Flipkart. Okay. If you were to think of what happens or what a developer in Flipkart would do, right? Most of the backend engineers in Flipkart, which is kind of the main, main majority or the majority of the people in Flipkart would probably be on the backend engineering, right? And they would actually build REST APIs, correct? They'll build API endpoints with which your app can communicate or your website can communicate, correct? And there are multiple microservices. You'll have multiple REST API endpoints, and then they'll talk to some DB, right? Don't worry too much about it. I'm just like saying it's a typical three-tier architecture where they're building something which is called REST API, correct? Now, if you have to think of what happens in Ola, right? Again, very similar, right? There are engineers, backend engineers, who actually build REST API endpoints, which will be along the lines of passenger management or driver management, or how does a trip start, how does a trip end, right? Again, they'll have some sort of a database, correct? So this is going to be common across any other Web 2.0 company. That's the point I want to make, right? If you have to think of any company, right? Paytm, Swiggy, uh, car deco, whatever you want to call it, right? So now all these companies have some sort of a app or a website, and then they have that's usually done by specialists, right? iOS engineer or Android engineer. Excuse me. And you have some kind of a API gateway which talks to a bunch of REST API endpoints. Now, if you were to think of it, how to actually get yourself equipped to actually build these products? Is that something exciting for you? Like you want to build products that are getting used by millions of people? I would think that most of you want to do that, right? So how do you actually get ready? So the easiest proxy, right, in terms of who are these people building these products? If you have to just like quickly think in that direction, the job portal of these companies is actually a very good proxy, right? You see their job portals, you would actually be able to see, okay, they're working on Spring or RESTful API, SQL or NoSQL. They understand how to write scalable code or test driven, like how to write code that can be tested, right? So these are some of the job descriptions that you can actually go and check for yourself, and you would get an idea, okay, hey, if I want to actually go into some of these companies, or if I want to build like backends that are actually used by millions of people, these are the skill set those engineers possess, correct? This is the easiest proxy for you. Now, how do you actually get those skill set today, right? So it's not easy, right? Not everybody works in these companies. So this is where we were actually like thinking, okay, what are the various ways by which these kinds of skills are actually can be developed by individuals, right? Maybe you can read some books. I don't think most of you would have textbook for a very long time, right? Maybe some videos, maybe, right? Videos is probably more common, sitting on YouTube videos or even courses that have a lot of video content, or sometimes hands-on tutorials, right? If you are used to doing this, definitely you can pick up some skills, but is this a way you should actually be learning, right? You want to acquire those skill set because you want to actually do better things and build better things, but are these the right way to acquire those skill sets, right? That's where we were wondering, okay, hey, what if every developer gets to kind of work or get work like experience in top-notch companies, right? If you were to think of, okay, somebody is actually in a top-notch company, what is the kind of experience they would get? They'd become independent problem solvers. Given a problem, they'd be able to take it right from the requirement, understand how to go about it, etc., and then solve the problem. They learn in the context, right? The company is kind of like, let's say, if you take Flipkart, they're coming up with big billion day, and you working as an engineer there, you would actually understand how to actually solve this big billion day problem in terms of traffic, etc. Right? Everything is contextual. correct? And the kind of technology and tools that you get exposed to is also varied, right? Like in terms of the number of engineers you'll communicate with, like you'll be getting used to all the tools in that particular ecosystem, etc. That's what is going to happen if you work in any of these companies. Now, not everybody gets the opportunity to work in these kinds of companies, right? Now, how to actually get an opportunity, similar learning opportunity, right? That's where Crio comes into picture, because we understand that in terms of the work experience that you might get in your current company, not everybody gets to work on really solid projects, right? Or you might be in a very different domain as well. So how do you transition yourself to this domain? How do you actually pick up some of these skill sets? This is where Crio comes into picture. All right. So the way we go about that on our platform is through something called micro experiences. Okay. So these are very different way of learning, this micro experiences. And what you do over here is you take the avatar of a developer in a company, like in any of these top-notch company, and then go through the learning journey that they would have gone through in the company. I'll give a very simple example. Okay. So QEH is part of your curriculum, right? As a part of the Java backend track. Here, you would actually take the avatar of a backend developer in Swiggy. In here, we call it Q Eats, but it's essentially like a Swiggy-like company. Okay, you have taken the backend role. Now, what you would actually do is there will be a front-end app. Hopefully, you are able to see my screen, right? Are you able to see the video? Can somebody just like confirm? I'm showing the video of the mobile app. Okay, perfect. All right. So as you can see here, there is this QEats Android app that will actually give you, right? As a part of the we'll give you the Android app. And you see that it's actually showing a list of restaurants, right? It's going to be very similar to what you would actually see in Swiggy, right? If you use Swiggy or Uber Eats app, you'll probably be seeing something very similar, correct? It's showing a bunch of restaurants near you. Now you'll have more and more functionality over here, right? You can actually order food or search for food, right? Search for specific kinds of food. You can do some of these things. Now, what you would actually go through in this particular micro experience is you being the backend developer in QEats, you would actually be implementing some of the APIs, okay, that are required to power this Android app, which means you will actually write your code, deploy, so that this Android app can actually talk to the backend that you have written, and you will start seeing the results on your phone. Does it excite you? Does it excite you guys? Yes? No? Right? So instead of talking theory, what we do is we just like give you an Android app, and then you have to make it work by actually building some of the APIs so that you can actually see things live. Okay, that's a very, very different experience, right? So now I'll just like quickly show how it works on the platform as well. So this is the QEats micro experience. And the way it starts is, okay, you want to pick up these skill sets, right? You want to become a distributed systems developer. And you will pick up end of the micro experience, you'll pick up Spring Boot, MongoDB, REST API, Redis, JSON, JUnit, Mockito, all these skill sets. Now the way we go about it is similar to you working in a company, there will be a product requirement doc which is given by your product manager. I mean, you may be coming from a different background where you might not have a product manager, but essentially you can think of it as somebody is giving you user requirements and that person is the product manager. And then you go about implementing whatever it takes to make sure that that functionality is actually shipped. Okay. And then the product manager also gives you some goals, right? And once you are given some goal, what you have to do is you have to go and code. Okay, so we'll be pointing you to some tutorials. They are actually divided into multiple tasks. Okay, so you'll go through some tutorials to help you understand how to actually go about coding, and you'll again go through some steps to actually finish the entire project, and then you'll submit code. Okay, so each module you will actually pick up very specific skill set, submit code, and then we'll have assessment on this, right? Like whatever was the requirement, we'll make sure that you're actually able to finish those functionality, and then we'll actually, once you commit the code, right, we'll actually give you the results, and once you get the results, you can actually go to the next module. Does that make sense? Okay, and each module is structured in a similar way, and we also have something called debriefs where we'll just like give you some questions to make sure that you have understood things right, and then we'll also help you understand what did you learn, how is it related to real world life, what are the other ways of implementing the same thing. All those kinds of stuff are covered in the debrief. Right? In by end of this particular module, which is module 2, you would actually be able to have your Android app and then see a couple of restaurants coming up on your app from the backend you have already implemented, right? And then you will move on to doing some more unit testing and doing some kind of MongoDB work, right? And you will also do things like whatever a developer in these companies would do, right? Let's say app is crashing. How do you go about fixing that? You have to understand how to go about debugging production issues, correct? So you'll go through the scenarios that these people in these companies face. That way you acquire a holistic set of skill set, just like the developers over there. All right. So now getting back, so our platform, right, has been used by developers from some of the top tech companies, right? They trust us. They believe it's actually a very, very good way of learning, which is not available elsewhere, right? All these companies, developers from these companies actually learn on our platform. So if you have any friends, feel free to actually check.
Can you be a little bit more louder? People are requesting for it.
Oh, I'm still not audible.
I think you're audible. See if you can be a little more louder. That's it. That's
Okay,
fine.
I'll try to be a bit more louder. I'll
Yeah.
probably just like move a bit closer to the system. Okay, so as I was saying, like all these companies like Flipkart, Visa, Rakuten, Jio, right? All of them actually have developers, like, make their developers go through our curriculum so that they learn and then get job ready. Okay, so moving on to the backend track, right? I'll go into the details of the backend track now. So you must have seen this on our website already. The thing that is getting covered in the curriculum is we start with developer essentials like basic Linux and Git, and then move on to Java essentials so that you get comfortable with your programming knowledge. And then we go on to the micro experiences. I'll get to more details. And in terms of the prerequisite itself, the primary prerequisite we want is you should be just like comfortable with some programming language, whether it is C, C++, Java, or Python or PHP, whatever it is, right? You should be comfortable with at least one programming language, after which you can easily pick this up. Okay, so in terms of how the curriculum is structured, we'll first start with developer essentials, where you will actually pick up Linux, Git, and a bit of debugging as well, right? How do you actually fix a problem when you actually have no clue, right? We'll definitely do something like that so that you get comfortable Googling things yourself, finding answers by yourself, because you being independent and ability to fix things independently by yourself is actually extremely critical as a developer. Correct. So we'll help you with some of those things. It's just the first session. We'll have one more later. And then we'll move on to the Java essentials. Here, basic Java, some things around class, inheritance, annotations, or whatever is required for you to actually just like get some basic comfort with Java will be covered over here. And as soon as you are done with that, we'll also have build out, which is kind of like a build a project from scratch, right? Where you'll be given something simple like tiny URL, which you have to build. It might be anywhere between say 50 to 100 lines of code, right? It's just to make sure that you are kind of getting into the juice, because some of you might have not coded in the past year or two, right? Or you're from a different background and you haven't coded in Java. This is just to get you into some sort of a rhythm. Okay, and after that we'll start with the first micro experience, right? This micro experience covers JSON, REST API. This is essentially a stock portfolio analyzer. If you know the company Zerodha, kind of very similar to that. So there are stockbrokers who want to actually visualize the stock, and then they actually you are a developer in one such company, and then you would actually learn professional Java development through doing the Q money. You can think of it as a guided project, right? So here you will actually pick up JSON, REST API, JUnit, hook concepts, Gradle, exception handling in Java, right? And similarly, just like the previous step, you'd also do a build out, which is an independent project which you have to build from scratch, applying some of the skill set you picked up in Q money. Okay, Q money is again a project. It's slightly guided. Build out is completely by yourself. That's kind of the difference. All right, and then you move on to Page, which is what I showed you now, where you will actually pick up Spring Boot, which is kind of one of the most popular backend frameworks that is out there, right? Quite a lot of companies use that. And then you will pick up Mongo, which is a NoSQL. You'll learn Mockito, how to actually make sure that you are writing testable code. You'll pick up debugging production issues through doing scientific debugging. You'll also pick up things like Redis, which is essentially going to help you with caching, right? So once you pick up these technologies, you'll again do a build-out where you will actually implement APIs end to end. Okay. Now, in terms of how the whole thing will be driven, orchestrated, we'll have like a reasonably tight schedule, and then we'll also have mentoring sessions for them. And the idea is that you can actually choose to do it in 4 months instead of like taking it at your own pace, because you have a lot of work and you can only say commit about 8 to 10 hours per week, right? Or if you want to actually sprint, that is also possible. Let's say that you can actually put in a bit more time, that is also totally possible. So depending on how fast you want to take it, and you can go anywhere between 2 to 4 months. All right. So however, this is like you have to decide, but we'll try to keep you accountable to whatever you commit, right? The idea here is you just like don't take this and then just like not make progress, right? The idea is to actually you take it and then you sort of stick to some sort of a curriculum. Like weekly, we'll have deliverables. As you can see, we'll have deliverables. This is supposed to finish on certain day, and then you'll actually go through each of them. Okay. Now, once you are done with all the stuff, right? As soon as you are kind of going through it, end of it will be adding all these to your Git. Okay, which is very critical if you are doing any kind of career transition, whether it be it internal or external. The kind of coding you have been doing consistently over the few months, right? It will all go to your Git as contributions. So you'll have a beautiful graph on your Git, which is actually checked by a lot of companies these days. Okay, and you'll also be getting a Crio profile, so that like you can actually show, okay, hey, this is what I have done, and that's going to come directly from Crio, right? You'll also be getting a certificate for that. All right. So overall, if you were to think about it, you would have done 5 projects in a period of 2 to 4 months, picking up new skills. So that way you don't just like talk about your skill set to somebody, you can actually show them, right? This is what I have done and this is what I can show you, right? That's much powerful compared to you saying, hey, I read this and then I understood something, right? It's way different methodology, right? And yeah, we are fairly sure that this would be something which you have probably never experienced before, right? This methodology, this kind of learning, we are fairly sure all our past users have definitely kind of blown away in the first couple of weeks itself in terms of how this methodology of learning is so very different, right? It's exactly like your work, right? If you have an awesome mentor, if you have an awesome project, the kind of learning you have, we try to replicate that over here in our platform, right? So as I was asking you on the beginning, there are different reasons why you are probably over here, right? It could be because you are kind of in a different role, maybe DevOps, QA, or automation, and you want to actually transition into a dev career, right? Or you want to just like do better in your current job. I think one of you said, like, I'm a full stack engineer and then I want to become better in it, or I'm a front end engineer and I want to become better at it, right? So here you can actually just like increase the portfolio of things you know, or whatever you are doing, you can actually do much better as well. Correct. And some of you might have the goal of transitioning from service to product companies, right? Here again, it gives you that kind of a portfolio for you to actually convince your hiring manager to hire you. Or some of you can maybe just like looking for a better job, right? In all these cases, having a solid resume and then skill set to actually show, right, during an interview is going to help a long way. Right, so these details are available on our website as well. It's going to be 20K, right? The first week is absolutely free. The idea is for you to get a sense of how you are going to learn, right? It's also a selection week for us in the sense that we also want committed users, right? So we see end of day, only if you succeed, we also succeed, right? As a company. So it's very critical that you put in enough effort, you have that kind of motivation. So that's why the first week is kind of both a selection for you as well as for us, right? You do well, we are also going to be happy, right? And if you think that for some reason it's actually not working out for you, totally okay, no obligations, you're not going to pay anything anyway, right? So you can definitely drop out of the first week if you're not happy about things. All right. And in terms of scholarships, also do give scholarships. So depending on how you actually go about progressing in your first week, we also have some scholarships for you. Okay. At max, we'll do 25% scholarship. Okay. All right. That's about it. Some of our past users, they have got like pretty good outcome based on whatever they have done. For example, there are people who have just like started programming, like they probably know basic programming and then they joined us, or there are people who are not so confident and then like it seems like slightly overwhelming sometimes, right? Hey, can I actually do that? Right? So there are different kinds of people who have gone through the curriculum and all of them have enjoyed, right? People who are doing good, we just like push them more, right? There are more modules, optional modules where they get pushed more. If you're kind of like slowly trying to get into some rhythm, you'll also enjoy because you can take it slightly slower, right? In both cases, they have like thoroughly enjoyed the experience and a lot of them kind of use it in their interview setting or wherever, right? Like to actually move to a better career.